As Democrats debate whether or not to open a formal impeachment inquiry, some members of the Judiciary Committee today said that, whatever you want to call it, they're currently investigating. An impeachment investigation is underway. One of those people is my next guest, Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland. He's on both the Judiciary and Oversight Committees, a dual threat, as they say. He's an expert in constitutional law. Congressman, nice to see you, sir. All right, you changed the rhetoric here. There is a distinction, though, between a formal inquiry and not. Why do you feel the need to use different language here?
Well, Chuck, the Constitution, federal law, the rules of the House of Representatives don't specify what an impeachment probe is or an inquiry or an investigation and so on. And I think that what we heard from Special Counsel Mueller and we read about in his report was overwhelming evidence of high crimes and misdemeanors, specifically 10 episodes of obstruction of justice, witness tampering, evidence encouraging people to lie and so on. And then the shocking historical event of a presidential candidate and his campaign essentially throwing the doors open and enthusiastically welcoming foreign intervention in our presidential campaign. So it's hard to know what else to call it other than an investigation into high crimes and misdemeanors. I think we're in the middle of it right now. Right. We're going to court to try to get the underlying grand jury materials. We're trying to get Don McGahn to come in and testify. And then there are people like me, and I'm speaking personally here, who want to expand the investigation to look at a whole bunch of other things.
Well, let me go on a technical point there. You talked about the lawsuit that's being filed to sort of to force the Justice Department to produce, to allow you guys to see the redacted materials and grand jury materials. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you essentially made the Judiciary Committee a grand jury, which is what a formal inquiry impeachment inquiry would allow you, wouldn't that mean you wouldn't even need to file a lawsuit?
Well, no, because the Department of Justice and the president are not turning these materials over. Remember, the president.
But at that point, you're a grand jury, so you do have right. I mean, doesn't that give you?
Yeah.
There's no more permission to ask. They have to turn it over.
Well, you're right from the standpoint of the founding fathers, but not from the standpoint of the people who actually control the documents. Now, remember, when Ken Starr issued his report against Clinton, they showed up with a U-Haul truck and brought out boxes and boxes of material. That's not what happened here. Attorney General Barr has been doing everything in his power to withhold evidence, to cover evidence up, and to deny us the complete report and the underlying materials. That's why we go to court. Whatever you want to call it, we've got to go to court to get it.
In fact, let me pause this a minute. Can you explain, because I think it would be good for viewers to hear this, what material from Robert Mueller's investigation has the Judiciary Committee received? Just tell me the material that you have received from his investigation.
Well, let's see. Now, to the best of my knowledge, we got basically what the public has seen in the report, and a few unredacted portions that we were allowed to go over to see, and I'm not allowed to reveal the contents of them, but let me just say nothing that it would be worth anybody taking their weekend to go down to the Department of Justice to see.
But you have yet to see, as a member of the Judiciary Committee, the full unredacted Mueller report?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, and this demonstrates the absurdity of the executive branch argument now. Remember, Donald Trump has essentially ordered non-compliance with 10 or 12 congressional investigations. We're talking about refusing subpoenas. That's where we are with Don McGahn. That's where we are with Kellyanne Conway in the Oversight Committee. It means refusing to turn over materials. Like, we determined that there were 25 people who were denied top security clearance by the professional staff in the White House Personnel Office, and then they were overruled by the president or by political underlings, but we can't get any information about it. That goes right to the heart of our national security. They're giving away top security clearance to people who are potentially a threat to our national security, but they're not turning over any information about that. It's the same thing in terms of information about the border and so on. It's been a very serious problem with this administration, so that's why we've got to go to court to get it.
Well, when you questioned Mueller, you were on the topic of witness tampering. Were you satisfied with his responses?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that Mueller confirmed everything we were saying, which is that the president did everything in his power after the FBI searched Michael Cohen's house to call him up, to reassure him, say, hang in there, buddy. Hang tough. He had several people call to say, we love you, you're very high up on the president's list, you know the president's got your back, and so on. And then when Michael Cohen couldn't take it anymore and he wanted to stop lying for the president, and he couldn't take lying to Congress, and he said, I'm going to tell the truth, I'm going to spill my guts, and he did. At that point, they began to threaten and intimidate him. They started putting out information about Michael Cohen's father-in-law. They said he was involved with organized crime. You know, if the president has information about somebody committing crimes, he should turn it over to the FBI and to law enforcement. He shouldn't use it as a bargaining chip or as a threat or a point of leverage over people who might testify against him. That's what mob bosses do. That's not what presidents of the United States do.
Do you expect it all to want to bring Robert Mueller back, or perhaps Robert Mueller and, say, Andrew Weissman and some of these other folks, to do an investigation in how they conducted their investigation? Meaning, like, if we didn't really get an answer as to, you know, was it a mistake not to subpoena him, things like that.
I think that we should thank Robert Mueller for his service to America as a patriot, as a decorated war hero during Vietnam, and through his service as special counsel. If we need other information, we should ask other people on the special counsel staff to come in. We know that the Trump administration.
Do you think Mueller's time is? You don't need any more from Mueller?
No, I think I don't know. The guy spent 6 or 7 hours with us. And look, the real thing is that, remember, we appear to have been hung up on the Mueller investigation only because Attorney General Barr tried to pull the wool over everybody's eyes and misstate the contents of the report. We've got a much broader field of inquiry that we need to get to. The Foreign Emoluments Clause in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution says the president cannot accept presents, emoluments, which means payments, offices or titles from governments. This president has accepted 20 gifts from 24 governments through the Trump hotels and the office towers and the golf courses. We've got a lot of area to cover here.
All right, Congressman Jamie Raskin, you're right. It can be a lot larger than just Mueller. Jamie Raskin, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm run up against my ad clock here.